And welcome back to Ask the Lawyer. I'm your host, Mike Berger. Here to answer your legal questions today are personal injury attorneys Manuel Green and Brent Freefield from the Rad Law Firm. Just call the number that you see on the screen. That is 1-888-887-9521, or email your question to askthelawyer@radlawfirm.com. Okay, Antonio from Forney has a question. Antonio, be our guest.
I was injured in an accident, and the car just hit me, and he kept going. I was wondering, what should I do about that? I could not see his license plate or anything. Thank you.
Wow. What do you do there?
Mike, that's a tough situation.
Of course, he didn't say if he was injured. I'm assuming he was.
Well, that's a good point. Obviously, we handle cases where people have been injured and they can make a claim against the at-fault driver. In this situation, if this gentleman doesn't have any idea as to who hit him, he can assert what's called an uninsured motorist claim. If he has that type of coverage for his vehicle, that'd be the first thing that we'd want to sit down and visit with this gentleman about.
What if he doesn't have a car or insurance? Does he have any recourse then, or is he just kind of on the hook for it himself?
You know, there's potential criminal responsibilities if he can go to a crime victims compensation fund for some sort of recourse, but that's something we typically would not handle.
Okay. If you aren't able to get through right away during the show, please don't stop calling. Your phone calls are important. Your emails will be answered, as well as your phone calls, within 24 hours. Right now, Dee Dee from Fort Worth is on the line. Dee Dee, go ahead.
My question was, my son was riding on the local street, and he was going down the sidewalk, and the sidewalk ended. Where the sidewalk ended, there's a big tree stump that grew real high, and when he was riding, and he went over the stump, and he broke his foot. So I was just asking, is there any legal rights that I have for the city? I'm not sure what, but he broke his foot because the tree stump started going where the sidewalk ended.
Did I hear that correctly, that there's a tree stump growing through the sidewalk, he's riding his bike, hits that, and...
I think you did, Mike. I think this is that classic story of a sidewalk in an older neighborhood where you see a bunch of tree stumps coming through it, and then you have an uneven or unlevel sidewalk. Your little boy's riding his bicycle and hurts himself. I think the root there is going to be who owns that tree. Is it a city tree or is it a homeowner's tree? Possibly we can make a homeowner's claim against the owner of the tree. I would really like to investigate a little more the scene of the accident as to where it happened, how it happened, so we can look at that. It becomes a very difficult case against the city because we got to, again, go back to that notice factor as to whether or not the city knew that sidewalk was messed up. We got to prove a lot of different elements of notice, which becomes difficult. But I think the best bet there would be to give our law firm a call, let us go look at where it happened, see if we can somehow place the tree at a homeowner's that might have had notice that tree has been overgrown and didn't maintain the property.
Is it hard to sue a government agency or a government, a city, a county?
And Mike, let me tell you, a lot of people have the misconception that we sue, right? We don't generally just jump to we're suing people. It is difficult to sue anybody. Litigation is a tough process. But more than anything, we're making claims to try to get medical bills paid, to try to get people what the compensation they deserve, right? It's
much easier for everyone if you can kind of sit down and say, okay, here's the deal. Let's fix this.
Absolutely. The city, the cities have insurance, just like a private party. So we can figure out who insures that city. We can send a letter of representation, hopefully send a claim, as opposed to just setting up a claim, sending a demand and trying to come up with some solution, as opposed to just suing people. So there's definitely a lot of remedies for Dee Dee, and we'd be happy to try to help her.
Very good. Thanks to Manuel Green and Brent Freefield from the Rad Law Firm for joining us today. This half hour's gone by so fast, guys. I've had a good time. I hope you have. I hope your questions were answered. And remember, even though the show is over, your phone calls and emails will be answered. Just call 1-888-887-9521 or email your question to the Rad Law Firm or ask the lawyer at radlawfirm.com. If you aren't able to get through during the show, just don't stop calling, as I said. Your questions will be answered within 24 hours. Right now, Deborah from Cedar Hill.
Hi, my name is Deborah, and I have a question to ask. My mother-in-law fell, and they dropped her in a nursing home in Mississippi, and she only had one leg. and it got fractured. She never got well. She died a little bit later. We did get an attorney, but we never heard anything from the attorney about what's going on. A couple of times my husband called him, and he says, well, you know, we're still investigating. And this is going on 3 years now, so what do we do?
Mike, I'll be glad to answer this lady's question. Obviously, client communication is extremely important. We put that at the top of our list. Keeping the client well informed as to your progress on their case is the ultimate obligation that we have. And I would suggest that this lady contact the law firm that she's hired, make it very clear that she expects an answer within, you know, a couple of business days, or she will look into other measures. But you know, that's extremely important.
Does she have another measure other than finding another law firm to represent her?
Well, you know, ultimately, the client has the ability to terminate any relationship and go to another lawyer. And we have that happen all the time where the folks are just not pleased with where they're at and they come to us.
Thanks a lot, guys. We've got to run. We're a little short on time. Thank you so much for calling. And remember, keep your calls coming. They'll be answered within 24 hours.
This program is sponsored by the Rad Law Firm and features legal questions from viewers. Nothing in the program establishes attorney-client privileges.